Jimmie Johnson is undoubtedly one of the most recognizable names in all of motorsports. He's a 7-time NASCAR Cup Series champion, tied along with Richard Petty the King and Dale Earnhardt Sr. the Intimidator. He's amassed 83 career wins over 691 career starts, 36 pole positions, 232 top 5s, 374 top 10s. And of those 691 career starts, only 70 of them have ever ended in a DNF. 28 of his 83 career wins came on mile-and-a-half tracks, a record that still stands in NASCAR. He won at Charlotte Motor Speedway 12 times alone, 4 of those of which was an All-Star win, 4 Bank of America 500 wins, and 4 times he was a Coca-Cola 600 winner. He's also gone on to win the Daytona 500 twice, the Brickyard 400 4 times, and the Southern 500 twice. But over the last few years, Jimmie Johnson seems to be a shell of his former self, making very uncharacteristic career decisions since leaving NASCAR. In 2020, he decided that he was going to retire from full-time NASCAR racing and announced that he would be switching to IndyCar for the 2021 season. That lasted 2 years with Chip Ganassi Racing. Then in 2023, he announced that he would be making a comeback to Cup to race part-time, but also be coming back as a Cup owner. He went in with Maurice Gallagher of GMS Motorsports, who had signed on with Richard Petty Motorsports the year prior. This subsequently would close Petty Motorsports altogether, and in 2023, GMS announced that they would be shutting their doors at the end of the NASCAR season. So for 2024, we got Legacy Motor Group, a conglomerate made up of Maurice Gallagher's former GMS and Petty Motorsports enterprise, along with Jimmie Johnson. Richard Petty still serves as a team ambassador, but has little to do with the legacy of which Richard Petty Motorsports was. GMS, once a prominent truck series team with multiple driver championships, folded its doors and no longer exists either. And along with that, Jimmie Johnson also decided that he was going to switch engine manufacturers from Chevy, a manufacturer that he had been with since 2002 when he came into the sport, and would switch to Toyota. These have all been very weird career decisions, going back many, many years, that have not yielded very good results. In 2021, when he signed on with Chip Ganassi Racing for IndyCar, he would run a partial schedule. He would run the street courses and the road courses, but not do any of the ovals, stating that it was too dangerous. However, that would change in 2022, where he would run the ovals, and with some success. His best finish in 2021 was a 17th at Long Beach and Laguna Seca, when he did no ovals. In 2022, when he ran a full schedule, he had a best finish of 5th at Iowa and a 6th place in Texas. He also qualified for the Indy 500 that year in a very, very good spot, starting 12th. Coming back to NASCAR in 2023, Jimmie Johnson has a best finish of 28th in the 2024 Daytona 500. So a lot can be said about his career since leaving NASCAR full-time at the end of 2020. He tried his hand at IndyCar, did not go well. He's tried his hand at a NASCAR return, though with only a partial schedule. That has not gone well. As a team owner, the 42 and the 43, driven by John Hunter Nemechek and Eric Jones respectively, has not gone particularly well. He did run the 24 Hours of Le Mans with the Garage 56 program, which is an experimental class and does not run for points or a win. And again, little to no success. However, the Garage 56 program was a huge hit at Le Mans, and we'll talk about that a little bit more in a future video. But it should be noted that the transmission problem that the Garage 56 car had during the 24 Hours of Le Mans came at the hands of Jimmie Johnson behind the wheel. Coincidence? Maybe. But it's hard to determine when and where things exactly started to go wrong for Jimmie Johnson. But I think I've been able to pinpoint the exact moment that his career made a paradigm shift for the worse. Let's go back to June of 2017. You're 12 races into this season, coming off of your 7th championship from 2016. You've won 3 of the first 12 races, and you just won the week prior at Dover. And on lap 95 of the Pocono 400 presented by Exalta, this happens.
For everybody, even a winner like Jimmie Johnson.
Stage points, playoff points.
Trouble turn one. Jimmie Johnson slams the outside retaining wall. May have had a brake or a tire failure going into turn one. He cut down across the grass. Now another car, Jamie McMurray, is up into the wall. I'm going to say that was a brake failure on the Jimmie Johnson car. He came into turn one at the braking point. Right front tire exploded. He went down through the grass, head on into the wall. Debris all over the racetrack. May have cut a tire down on the Jamie McMurray machine. Right now the concern is for Jimmie Johnson. The window net is down. He is climbing out or beginning to climb out of the race car at the exit of turn one after an absolutely vicious shot into the safer barrier.
And Jamie McMurray's car is beginning to burst into flame. There's flame coming to the right side, and Jamie has pulled the car, nosed it into the safer barrier gently, and he is bailed out of that car as it slowly becomes engulfed in flames.
Well, our first caution flag of the afternoon at lap number 96. Jimmy was just talking about trying to get those stage points, so don't worry about that. That's all over. And Slugger Labby, one of your progressive keys to the race was save the brakes, and that was a brake failure.
It certainly looked that way, and that hurt. You know, that wall is not what you want to be in for sure. And I'm not exactly sure what happened to the one car, Jamie McMurray, but he had a violent hit as well. And, you know, brakes, you got to take care of them. And like I said, the entry speed is tremendous, 208 miles an hour, and something's got to give, and these brakes can only do so much. And, you know, you think you hurt the brakes on entry, but it's really not. It's down these straightaways when the brakes cool off, and then they have to heat back up on entry. So it's actually you hurt your brakes going down the straightaway, not on entry of the corner. So it definitely a hard hit, and I'm glad to see Jimmy get out of the car.
All right, we got a lot going on. We got Jimmie Johnson, who is kneeled down next to his car. McMurray's car continues to burn. Let's first cover Jimmie Johnson, Dave.
Jimmy has gotten out of the car. He's a little bit worse for wear, Jeff. Took a vicious lick here in turn one. Got out of the car, kind of hunched over, now is down on his knees. No doubt about it, it's at least taken the breath from Jimmie Johnson. But he is out of the car. He is speaking to the EMTs and rescue workers. He did get out of the car under his own power.
Coming off a victory last week at Dover, riding high coming into Pocono here this weekend. And you heard us just checking in on Jimmie Johnson. What they were talking about was trying to gain stage points. That's how fast it can happen. He's in the wall, out of the race. And Mike Bagley, same situation for Jamie McMurray.
Yeah, good news is
Jimmy seemed to be visibly shaken from the crash and had to sit down and catch his breath. When asked after the race what had caused the crash, he had this to say.
We do have a new element with the lower downforce on the car, and that contributed to our problem. Then I just used the brakes too much. I've got to take some responsibility in that, and my driving style lends to aggressive braking. And we will make sure that we have a beefed up braking system going back to Pocono here shortly.
And braking issues are nothing new at Pocono. In fact, Jamie McMurray had a very similar issue on the same exact lap, but tended to ride the wall as opposed to try and cut the corner. But when asked how he felt after the race, Jimmy had this to say.
I thought it was going to be a lot worse than that, and to have it turn out where I basically just scared myself and got out of the car and walked away. I just needed a second to sit down and catch my breath. But honestly, I have no sore spots or aches. I feel fine.
Now, I don't know if there is an exact direct correlation between that crash and Jimmy's performance, but after that crash, Jimmy hasn't won a race since and only had one more top five for the rest of the 2017 season and finished fifth in the points. For the rest of the 17, 18, 19, and 2020 seasons, Jimmie Johnson had no wins, 13 top fives, and 28 top tens. And since returning to NASCAR in 2023, he has an average finish of 32.6 in 5 races. I don't know if Jimmy got a concussion in that crash or if it just rattled his brain, but he's not been the same driver since, and I don't think he ever will be again.